can't get this guy on the radio before 8:30. So here he is right now on Shan and RJ. Babe Laufenberg back with us on 105.3 The Fan. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And you know what? I didn't know that it was light outside at 8 in the morning. I've never been up this early.
Generally is.
I think you're only up now. Aikman was like, yeah, I go on at 7:50, 7:55. I don't love that time. So now you're just trying to match Troy right now at 8 o'clock.
Well, you know what I loved about that? And I think we all know where he does his show and all that good stuff. But when he said, the ratings are higher in the morning, I was like, you're on Monday Night Football. You get seen by like 40 million people a week. Why would you care if an extra 400 people listen in the morning or something, but hey, more power to them.
All right,
I'm glad we got to facilitate those little meetings, so that was fun.
Yes, thank you very much. And we know that you're a big coffee guy, but in your tweet to promote your appearance this morning, you said, attack the day and enjoy every sandwich. Are you a huge sandwich guy, and what's the last sandwich that you have had?
Well, you know where that comes from. Warren Zevon, who I'm a huge fan of, he had terminal cancer. He was on the David Letterman show. It was literally his last appearance before he died, and he knew he was dying. And David Letterman was a huge fan of Warren Zevon. Had him on the show. He was a musical conductor when Paul Schaefer would be gone and all that good stuff. But anyway, David Letterman said, what do you know about life that maybe I don't know? And Warren Zevon said, enjoy every sandwich. Just meaning basically enjoy every moment. So I will put a lot on the back end of my text or whatever. Enjoy every sandwich.
Nice. Fantastic.
What's your favorite sandwich?
Yep. And of course I got to go, not got to, but had to go through it with my son. And one thing you realize, man, better enjoy every sandwich, right? Enjoy every cup of coffee.
Yeah. Enjoy
your time with RJ this morning.
You should. Yes.
I mean, you just got to force yourself.
Sometimes it's hard.
What is your favorite sandwich?
What is my favorite sandwich? That's a good question.
Thanks. I came up with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to.
Really?
I don't have like a go-to. I guess if you gave me a chicken parm, that's always going to be acceptable.
Yes.
What's the most overrated one? What's the most overrated one?
You know what? What is the Reuben where they put the sauerkraut on it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like hold the sauerkraut. Yeah, whoever decided we should put that. Well, we should even eat it.
Nailed it, babe.
We should even eat sour. It should not be edible.
Oh my gosh,
that is nasty stuff.
You're all morons. That's awful take. Let's pretend. Dump that. All right, babe, what has jumped out to you from some of these Cowboys sessions? I know it's hard to garner a lot of things with the way that they're practicing, but what are some of the things that have stood out to you?
Yeah, it is. People ask about, hey, how's Mozzie Smith look? Their defensive tackle. It's like, how would I know? He walks around practice, But the one thing that jumps out, if you will, is Brandon Cooks. I mean, the receivers do. Hey, you do get to see them do kind of what they do. They're running routes. He's coming in and out of breaks, and the one thing I look at, too, with an older receiver, guys hit 30, can they still run? That's like Julio Jones. He's beat up. Great player, Hall of Fame player. But, he just couldn't run these last couple of years. But I'm looking at Brandon Cooks and saying, wow. I mean, we know what he's done, obviously, had 1,000-yard seasons and been a very, very productive player. But he's jumped out where I'm like, okay, that gives this offense a little juice. So at that wide receiver position, which really they had CD Lamb and then, a bunch of relatively average guys out there because of Gallup coming off the injury. But if Brandon Cooks plays like he looks like he's going to play, and Michael Gallup comes back to the guy that he was, that could be a formidable threesome they throw out there at that wide receiver position.
Are you chuckling and laughing at how we in the media are blowing up the Texas Coast offense, and we're just dying to find differences between McCarthy and Kellen Moore? What is the reality of what you're seeing and what you're hearing and what you think the offensive changes will be?
I do like the Texas Coast. But we got to go a long way south to get to the coast, right? Unless we're talking about the coast of Lake Grapevine, maybe.
What's wrong with that?
Hey, I went to Stanford coming out of high school, and Bill Walsh was there. And so I was there at the forefront of the West Coast offense. So I know what the West Coast offense looks like because we installed it. But I don't think, honestly, to the naked eye, you won't know a difference. I may not know a difference in what you see. I don't think anybody's going to go to a Cowboys game that they open against the Giants in New York, but nobody's going to look at it and say, "Wow, you know what the difference was? I see they're doing this and this and this." I think it's going to be imperceptible to the average person, and I'll include me in there. Now, if you're a defensive coordinator who played against them last year, and you're scouting them all week, and you're looking at things, you're probably going to be able to say, "Okay, they're doing this a little different and that a little different," but I don't think you're going to see a ton of change.
Babe Laufenberg, Cowboys radio analyst, join us here at 105 through the fan. When McCarthy said he wants us to be Dak's offense, ownership of the offense, I think it's important for a quarterback to be in complete control. Like, do you think quarterbacks play better when they're not doing what the coach wants them to do, where they can see it and do it themselves?
You have to ask Aaron Rodgers about that. No, I mean, plays would come in for Aaron Rodgers. He'd say, screw that. So, I mean, I think every coach and wants his quarterback to take ownership, if you will, of the offense. I think that's just a given. And any good offensive coordinator, play caller says, "Hey, what do you like?" I don't care if R.J. Choppy's my quarterback. I'm going to R.J. and saying, "Hey, what do you like in the game plan? What do you not feel comfortable with?" Any coach is going to do that. No coach is going to say, "Hey, well, I don't care if you don't like it. I think it's a heck of a play. We're going to run it." So there's always that feedback between quarterback and play caller. And I do think, much like baseball, and maybe Mike Bassett can address this, that play caller and that quarterback have to be like the pitcher and catcher, where that catcher flashes a sign and that pitcher says, "Man, exactly what I was thinking, exactly what I wanted to do." So as a quarterback, you're out there on the field. Of course, now you don't flash signs. They talk in your headset, in your helmet. But when that play comes in, you say, "Oh, man, that's exactly what I wanted to run right here." So we'll see how long that develops. The interesting thing, though, gentlemen, and this is not maybe it's a defense of Kellen Moore, but I don't think he needs to be defended. The offense has been good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The offense has been really good. I'll give you Dak Prescott, right? Which starting quarterback, you'll know the answer here, led the NFL in points per game last year?
Dak Prescott.
Mahomes was second. Jalen Hurts was third. Josh Allen was fourth. Over the last 3 years, which quarterback, when he started, obviously, so I'm not talking about the team, but which starting quarterback has averaged the most points per game?
Dak.
You know the answer. Dak.
Peyton Manning.
Dak. He's the only quarterback, as a matter of fact, to average 30 points a game over the last 3 seasons. Only guy that's averaged 30 a game for the last 3 seasons. So typically you don't say, "Hey, let's get rid of that coordinator. I don't know who the heck's been calling the plays, and I don't know who's running that offense, but we got to get rid of him because our quarterback has only led the NFL the last 3 years
Right.
in points per game." So it's going to be a very interesting, it's almost like they can only go down, right? I mean, they were the 4th highest scoring offense in the NFL last year. So there's 3 spots above you. Are you going to go get one of those? So it'll be a very interesting year, no question. But I do think, hey, Mike McCarthy, you're the head coach. You want to do it your way. Clearly there was some, I don't know how you want to describe it, but they said the parting was mutual. And I always say nothing's ever mutual, right? Somebody comes to somebody and says you're fired, right? Or somebody comes to somebody and says I quit. I think as McCarthy was walking down to Kellen's office, Kellen was walking to McCarthy's office, and they met halfway and said, "Yeah, let's end this thing."
Babe Laufenberg here on the Fan. What are the passing concepts in the West Coast offense, and how do they apply to Dak's skill set?
I don't know exactly how you would say they apply to Dak's skill set, because really the whole thing comes down to, are you throwing the ball accurately? A little more reading in the West Coast offense. I mean, I could go into the particulars of all of it, and quite honestly, a lot of the offensive concepts have come from the West Coast. Now they've changed through the years. They've taken it and they've gone different ways, but. It was funny because yesterday somebody asked me, what's the difference between ball placement and accuracy? And I said, there is none. we never, if you put the ball where you're supposed to put it, you can call it accuracy or ball placement, call it whatever you want, but It's the same thing. And we never dealt in ball placement, right? You just said, hey, Roger Staubach, great throw. Put it right where it needed to be. Now we have to deal with these nuances, and we need new words for basically the same thing that's been going on for 100 years or whatever, right? So hey, and Dak liked Kellen Moore. That's going to be the interesting thing. I mean, this was not a situation where Dak wanted Kellen Moore gone. So it's just going to be an interesting evolution. Not saying good, not saying bad. We'll see what relationship in terms of that play caller quarterback, Dak and Mike McCarthy develop. But to Dak's credit, Dak is always going to say the right thing, right?
Yeah.
He is always going to say, this is great. I love it. The changes we made, I love all that. The proof will be in the pudding, as we know.
Babe, when you look at this week specifically, it felt like Mike McCarthy, Dak, Brian Schottenheimer, there was this increase in talking about turning things over to Dak and freeing up Dak and putting a lot of this in Dak and ownership. I want him to own the offense. You referenced there that Dak was a fan of Kellen Moore. We know Dak was a big fan of Doug Nussmeier. I don't think he was necessarily thrilled with either move. Do you think that that empowerment is part of the install process that they've gone into, has just said, hey, we're trying to show you that this is not anything we're doing to try and limit you. We're trying to free you up. We want a lot of this to be what you want.
I think that's probably a good point. I think if they talk about the fact that it's going to be Dak's offense and Dak's can take ownership, that, suddenly you become invested in that, right? So even if you weren't thrilled with the changes that were made, all of a sudden when you're now the guy and it's on you, I think there's a different element involved at that point. So I think that's an outstanding point by you. And you talk about letting Dak take the offense. Well, Brian Schottenheimer, if you remember, he was in Seattle when they were saying, let Russ cook. So, and then, of course, Russ crashed and burned in Denver last year, but, he was out there through that whole deal. So he certainly, Schottenheimer is certainly an engaging personality. He spoke yesterday after the practice and got a great personality about him, great sense of humor. And we'll just see if we're all laughing at the end of next season.
Are the quarterback meetings still taking place with Aikman and Garrett?
They are. But Mr. Aikman, currently in Italy.
Oh, yeah, so we know. The world knows.
Yeah. Well, don't get me started there.
Why does the world know?
Oh, the viral photos. Have you not seen these?
No.
Oh, my God. You're on the internet more than anybody. She's posting photos with his new lady. This was basically the announcement of his divorce that happened that nobody knew about. You knew.
His abs look great, by the way.
They do. For 70 years old, he looks fantastic.
Hey, Bobby, if you were on steroids instead of Soto, you'd look like that too.
Look at that. I got some like medical steroids here, but not the anabolic.
No, I'm kidding. Hey, but Chop, that will have to be a topic of discussion at the next quarterback meeting. Okay.
His girlfriend's younger than mine.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, we won't make you uncomfortable anymore. It's good. It's good to hear from you. We look forward to catching up. And I probably should have cleared this with you beforehand to mention it, but it made me think of it after we talked the other night at Nick and Sam's. Of Laufenberg is fantastic at like a very touching moment. He's the only one that still continues to write handwritten cards. And whenever I get frustrated with my son, I think of, Laufenberg wrote a letter of congratulations when my kid was born. And what you do every week, remembering Luke, kind of gives me a kick in the butt when when I'm complaining or bitching about something that's really insignificant. So I just wanted to point that out. And
thank you.
You really do keep his memory alive.
Well, I try. The ancient Egyptians say that if you say a man's name, he is still alive. So I try to say Luke's name a lot.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, though.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
We'll catch up.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.